Good morning. I'd like to call the June 11th, 2024 full Kankakee County Board meeting to order. Today's invocation, Carol Weber, County Board Member. Thank you.
Let's pray together. Dear Lord, as we honor our flag on Friday's Flag Day, let us remember also Memorial Day and D-Day and Veterans Day in respect for our military. Please protect and guide the first responders and those who are in need of medical services, food, and shelters. Help us to be your servants and good examples for others as we strive for cooperation, promote integrity, and champion respect for others and their ideas, avoiding actions that detract from helpfulness. We ask that obstacles that stall good decision-making be eliminated so that we can serve the people of Kankakee County with success. We ask this in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you. Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Hess, Mr. Tholen, Mrs. Polk, Mr. Snipes, Mr. Seroy, Mrs. Weber,
Present.
Mrs. Parker, Mr. Carrico, Mr. Eckhoff, Present. Mr. Swanson, Mr. Featherling, Mr. Dunhill, Mr. Miller, Present. Mr. Long, Mr. Kirkstra, Present. Mr. Hunter, Mr. Smith, Present. Mr. Alexander Hildebrand, Present. Ms. Foster, Present. Ms. Andrade, Present. Ms. Armour Earps, Mr. Ashcraft, Present. Ms. Monday, Present. Ms. Rittman-Ekemi, Ms. Turner, Present. Mr. Marion, Present. Mr. Wheeler.
Present.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Let's see here. Under public commentary, I have two slips up here. The first is from Jim Wasser. You know the drill, sir.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I am Jim Wasser, and I'm here on a very positive note, which I know Mr. Wheeler was probably worried when he saw me what was going on, but it's good. I really came, certainly not just as a veteran, but as a member of the Veterans Assistance Commission. I'm a delegate from the Aroma Park Legion, Post 1019, and I'm very active in a lot of things, vet court, suicide prevention, and just being a strong advocate for veterans. I came here today to actually personally thank everyone on the board, especially I believe the Finance Committee with Mr. Eckhoff, Mr. Alexander Hildebrand, and then our treasurer, Mr. Africano, on fulfilling your duties and our duties and our partnership to continue to make sure that veterans get everything that they do have coming to them. And I greatly appreciate that you guys working out the solution for the interim until certainly the tax dollars come in. It's tough every day because I do read a lot, and I'm not a deep state conspiracy freak, but I will tell you the facts that I know, and it really bases and shows that how much a dollar means to a veteran is last year in 2023, and you can certainly check it, our national government spent $66 billion on illegal immigration. They spent exactly the same year $3 billion on homeless veterans. Now, something is truly wrong with that scenario, and it's easy for everybody here to nod our heads, but there's only one way we can actually do this, regardless of your political leanings, and that's up to you. We hold, everybody talks about the weapon of mass destruction. We have the weapon of mass instruction. We have the vote, and it's the most lethal weapon we have. If you don't use it, don't go crying what's happening to this country. And thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir. Robert Ellington Snipes.
To follow up after Jim Watson, I do have good news for the county. about, I guess, 5, 7 years ago, we had a young lady that I brought before this particular county board. She had a desire. She worked in Jim's row office for a little bit and did such a great job. And when we brought her back, this county board that was sitting wished her some well wishes back then. Through the disability that she has with seeing numbers in a different way, there were some challenges, and then there was an economic challenge because she wasn't blessed with the dollars to go where she has gone and achieve what she has achieved. Looking at her accolades when we were at that from the University of Illinois, from the Supreme Court all the way to just doing pro bono kind of work for individuals, lawyers is concerned, she has set the bar high. And the reason that this is important is because that individual was born here, raised here, volunteered, and then I guess had a little employment through the state's attorney's office, and she left here on a dream that one day she will come back and work for that office, and now she has fulfilled that dream. She was thinking just working in it, but she's taking the bar higher. I want to bring Emma up to us. Her grandmother's a Schreffler. You might know Clark Erickson, that's a distant cousin. But Emma, if you could help us welcome, she earned her Juris Doctorate from the University of Illinois. She's one of our own. And the young people need, I mean, we gave her a standing ovation and a clap. I think we need to do that on today for Mrs. Emma, who basically turned around and completed that, and she's coming back to us. Why not support our youth? So I see great things happening in Webb, and I know she's still got to take the bar and things of this nature, but anytime she has volunteered those many hours, made those many achievements, I just felt that it was just fitting, because we were here, that now she has achieved those accomplishments, to bring her back before the county board or whatever for that accolade or whatever, and I'm going to help her financially so she can take the bar. Trust that some of you all will, and some others or whatever, but to overcome the economic barrier, one, being poor to do it, then having a disability to do it, she beat the odds. And in the words of Sir Winston Churchill, never, ever give up, just never give up. And I believe it's Langston Hughes says, life for me ain't been no crystal stair, but she's proved that don't mean you can't make it one. Mrs. Emma again, thank you.
Let's see here. Moving on, we have a vacancy and appointment. I have the appointment of Robert. Well, actually, could you please read that in title into the record, sir?
The appointment of Robert Lowy to fill the unexpired term of Chad Scanlon for District 12 of the Kankakee County Board.
Is there a motion on that, Mr. Eckhoff? A second, Mr. Ashcraft? Legally, all the stipulations were met, so this is the gentleman who won the primary. So he was out there, so he'll be running, and so we're asking to appoint him to the spot, or I'm asking. So with that, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mr. Kirko.
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
Mr. Featherling.
Aye.
Mr. Dunhill.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra.
Aye.
Mr. Hunter. Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Alexander.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Andrade. Mr. Ashcraft.
Aye.
Ms. Monday.
Aye.
Ms. Turner. Mr. Marion.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion
And I would-
carries.
Say aye, I'm in. This is Dr. Polk.
Well, welcome, Dr. Polk. It's good to hear from you. So I guess the motion carries. Now, we did forget about one kind of tradition that went by the wayside with COVID. When somebody leaves the board members have a chance to shuffle around and take the seat. So if anybody wants to sit right in front of me, you lose the bet, so to speak. Otherwise, I think you've lost the bet, Mr. Lowy. So if you would want to come up and be sworn in, please.
Good morning. Raise your right hand. I, Robert Hall, having been appointed to the office of County Board, District 12, in the County of Kankakee, and State of Illinois, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of County Board Member, District 12, to the best of my ability. Congratulations. Thank you.
Alrighty. Welcome aboard, Bob. While he's getting his seat here, we will bring in Aaron. Now, Freaky, correct? Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Fricky.
Fricky. All right.
Yes.
Sorry. Hey, well, you know, that kind of party, as they say. But no, it's AJ. Would that work for going forward? I know that's
Yes,
the way
I go by AJ.
he goes by AJ. So if you don't want to make the same mistake I just made, turn red. But
okay.
anyway, he's here from Christopher Burke Engineering. We have a bid to be released. So before we get going here, I'd like to get a motion to release the bid, and then we could go through some questions, some timeline stuff. So I'll start with Mr. Carrico in the back as the chair of the committee to make the motion to release the bid, and a second with Mr. Featherling. Now, AJ, if you did want to run through some of the highlights, before we get going though, I did want to mention there is one error on there. The bid is going to be due at 8 a.m., not 9 a.m. On the 13th, I believe. Is that?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, on the 13th, because we're going to have a special highway and waterways meeting before the full board. It's the quickest opportunity that we can get back to award the bid, so we can make sure that we get all this done in the early fall instead of running up against weather. So that's why we're doing that here instead of waiting until highway and waterways to release the bid. So we get some extra time, get the advertisements out there, get solicitation from a lot of the engineering firms that do this work, and the actual construction or deconstruction firms, I guess, as the case may be in this case. So AJ, if you want to take us through a little bit of what's going on, if you want to show the project area, we can throw that up on the screen. Talk about a log vein. This is kind of our last shot to tell people what is upcoming here, and then what the design is going to afford us to do going forward, because we all know that sand is going to be back for a while. And so if we could, please, and then please hold your questions, kind of jot them down, and then he will come back and we'll clarify when the time comes.
All right, sounds good. There we go. Drawings are up on the screen. Thank you for whoever put those up there. That's a big help. So as Mr. Wheeler said, we are proposing a dredging project on Kankakee River at the Aroma Park boat launch. This is the cover sheet of our set of drawings. You can see the vicinity map on there. The Aroma Park boat launch is just downstream of the Bridge Street. If whoever's in control there could advance to the next page there, I would appreciate it. Thank you. This page here shows the existing topography of the river. So we had topographic bathymetry survey of the river showing what the bottom elevations are, which showed us the areas that needed to be dredged for this project to facilitate access to the river from the boat launch. Next page, please. This graphic shows the approximate area that will be dredged for the project. So you can see where the boat launch is in about the middle of the screen there. The project will extend from just near the Bridge Street Bridge to about 2,000 feet downstream, going along the north side of the island there in the middle of the river. You can also see here that there's a log vein that will help to prevent debris and sediment buildup at the boat launch. This slide here, as we keep moving forward, are the engineering details that are showing the contractor the area that needs to be dredged and to what depths need to be dredged to facilitate boat access from the boat launch as well as just general traffic on the river. These are the cross sections of the dredging operation. These are the fine details that's showing the contractor what they will need to do to dredge the river and to what elevations and widths they will need to dredge. And those continue on this sheet here. This erosion control plan here is just showing how the site is accessed from the intersection of Front Street and Division Street. Contractor will go through the parking area for the boat launch. They'll be able to stage materials there to the side off the parking area as well. Next slide, please. And lastly, this is our last set, or sheet rather, in the drawings. These are showing some of the erosion control details, the silt fencing that'll need to be put up to help prevent erosion near the boat ramp. That'll be a temporary measure. Also the seating details, as well as the detail of the log vein that'll be installed near the boat ramp. So this is our set of drawings that will be issued to contractors for bidding. It will also be accompanied by a project manual that is effectively the written set of instructions that contains the contract documents, the bidding instructions, and some additional technical specifications that you see here. This is a really long document. It's over 200 pages. I won't necessarily go through everything unless you want to see it, but point out a couple highlights. That the manual follows what's called the EJCDC format, which is a nationally recognized format that was developed by the American Society of Civil Engineers, the National Society of Professional Engineers, attorneys, engineers, and others. It's widely recognized as a standard set of contract documents used throughout the country. So we've adopted that for this project. We are using those contract documents and bidding documents and have tailored those specifically to this project. So prospective contractors should be very familiar with those documents. Maybe one more thing to add here before opening it up to questions. Mr. Wheeler indicated that August 13th would be the date that bids would be opened. That gives a nice period here between now and that time for contractors to review the project and submit bids. We will be conducting a pre-bid meeting at some point during that time period after the project has been advertised, so that contractors have an opportunity to ask questions about the project. We will facilitate that meeting and answer any questions. And the desire is that after that August 13th meeting where the bids are open, they'll be reviewed, turned around fairly quickly, and then the contractor would be able to start after the Two Rivers Festival is complete and extend into the early fall there and get some good weather to accomplish the project. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
I just had one before we go to the floor. The dewatering area on the map, is that going to be off to the side a little bit, and you're putting up a fence to allow the material to be retained, but the water will drift back into the stream, or what are we doing, I guess?
Let me, I have this sheet pulled up on my screen as well, so I'm going to go back to that to make sure I'm looking at exactly the area you're talking about. And I believe you're talking about the area that's adjacent to the parking lot that has the silt fence around it. So that area is a temporary staging area for equipment. It's not necessarily intended to be an area that is used for dewatering of materials. The expectation will be that the equipment that is used, they'll be able to transport that material directly into their hoppers and into the triaxle trucks that'll likely be hauling this to the off-site location. So we will not expect that there will be on-site dewatering at the boat ramp.
Okay, yeah, that is a change, because we were dewatering on site all the way up until this point. So that is a change. So, that went all the way through committee and everything. So, will that add substantially to the cost of the haul because we're trucking water?
No, I talked to someone who has some experience in this area, and they said their means and methods, that's what they usually do.
Okay.
Their equipment allows that to dewater in transit, so to speak, as they're dredging the material from the river and getting it into the hoppers. You know, that water is kind of filtering out of there, and by the time it gets in the truck, you know, it's manageable and ready to go to the project site, the disposal site.
Questions, please, from the group. Mr. Hunter first.
Chairman, I just want this confirmed, and I kind of leaned back and asked Bones just to confirm what I think I heard you say, Mr. Chairman, about the sand goes to the Illinois State Rifle Association at no cost to us for transportation.
Not necessarily accurate. It's up to them to work with the trucking company to say we'll accept the sand. We can't direct where it goes.
Yeah.
But it's up to them to. I would imagine that is a closer location than 200 miles away. You see how that would impact the cost of hauling.
I just kind of intimated the comments that I heard that they raised their
they've
hand.
agreed. They said we want it. They want to berm their range.
And just another question with respect to Sheriff's Department will we use any of that stuff for sandbags for flooding or anything at all or not?
I haven't
I'm
really
just asking.
talked about it. Yeah, I'm sure if we don't get some of this batch, they'll make more. Like Doritos, you know what I'm saying? No, I do think that's a decent idea. I mean, we do need the bags from time to time. They just can't sit there forever. That's part of the issue, because the bags deteriorate. So, any other questions, please? Anyone? I think that I have another one. The ability to go back in and clean this out over time, that's part of this design. And I'm wondering, what is the process for obtaining the permits necessary to do that? Is it, when we estimate 6 months out, you know, we think we need to get in there and clean it up? I mean, you know, just so we have some idea going forward, what that would look like.
Yeah, Mr. Wheeler, the permit conditions, we'll need to review those in a little more detail to see what they say with respect to additional dredging in the future. It's my expectation, at least at this time, without reviewing that in a little more detail, that the permits probably have a finite time period, that if there were dredging proposed in the future, that those permits would need to be sought again.
In the same footprint with the same design. So it might not be a year-long process. It might be something truncated once they become more familiar with what we're doing.
It could be.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's the goal, is that because we're going to have the equipment to do this ourselves, and which is much less costly over time, just so we can maintain and use the river for our own enjoyment.
I would recommend coordination with the permitting agencies to confirm what the requirements will be into the future.
Okay. Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. Let's get a roll call vote on releasing this bid, even though we probably don't need it now.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mr. Carrico.
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Dunhill. Mr. Miller. Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Hunter. Mr. Smith. Mr. Alexander. Ms. Foster. Ms. Andrade. Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Monday. Ms. Turner. Mr. Marion. Mr. Lowey. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for that. Ben, did you have anything to add on to this? I apologize. I saw you turning around, walking away from the mic. So Want to make sure that, because Ben is the one who's submitting a lot of this stuff and working with the state to making sure the money's flowing.
I just wanted to say that the current permit as it's issued is active through 2027. Now, scope notwithstanding, we'll have an active permit. That's when it ceases. So if there are any kind of touch-up things we need to do, again, with the permission and blessing of the agencies, we still will have an active permit during that time.
Okay. Was there anything as far as the bid goes? I should have asked you this before, but he's looked through it multiple times to make sure the Illinois language is correct. Is there any assurances you want to provide the board that you've done that?
So yeah, we've got it's nice that we have standard documentation from a national level. We worked with AJ to make sure that our grant requirements were all met in there. We talked a little bit about this at the committee level, but we've made sure that all of the kind of litany of requirements for all the grants are involved in this. And so we've got documents that are included as part of it, and then documents that are subsequently referenced that we will have the final contractor fill out. As some of you may remember, sometimes it's just not fruitful to have all of the contractors fill out all of the paperwork. So once we select that apparent low bidder, they will then fill out the required documentation for the grants.
Okay. Thank you. And anything else with Ben, please give him a call, stop in. I'll be happy to fill you in. We should actually probably do these certificates real quick because we have people that have to get back to work, it looks like. I'm sure they would like to stay here. So Kelly with the save, thank you for that. And then we'll come back and get a presentation from the land bank. So if I would show me some grace here, under certificates of appreciation, 15 years for Amy Lukey from the Sheriff's Department. Is Amy here? And Brian Koesch. And Avelino Arredondo, sorry, there's a D in there. Andrew DeLude, yeah. 20 years, sounds like a sentence. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, good morning. If it's any positive news, he did say he's got 10 years to go, so that's a good thing for us. So I'd like to introduce Corporal Andrew DeLude from the Corrections Division of the Sheriff's Office. As mentioned, he has been with us for 20 years. A couple things that I'd like you to know about Andrew and what he does, because we all know that people who are working in the jail don't normally have their face out there in public. And it's quite probably one of the most difficult jobs that are out there. First and foremost, Andrew is a veteran of the U.S. Army. He is also our Veterans Court Liaison with the Corrections Division. Oh. So what he does there is he works with the courts, with the veterans. Unfortunately, there are some who maybe find their way into our facility. And so it's good for the veterans to have somebody who's been there, and he works with those individuals as well. So that, from my standpoint, is probably one of the most important things we do as a law enforcement office. We also have a deputy who is a liaison as well, who's also a military, was in the military as well. So the Veterans Court, he's a range instructor, he's a corporal, and he's also a first responder, which first responders in the jail are really the first time that if an inmate has something going wrong with them health-wise, he responds to the situation, assesses it, and then makes a determination as to the next step, whether we call medical, whether we take him to the hospital, and so forth. So we can't operate the jail without great people like Corporal DeLude, and congratulations on your 20 years. You want me to take those? Whichever ones are mine.
Carrie's here. Not here?
No.
Okay.
There's one for probation.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Had Holly Jordan from probation, 20 years, and Carrie Laird from animal control, 20 years. So thank you all for your service. All righty, minutes of the last meeting, May 14th. Oh, we're going back to the presentation. Sorry. Land bank presentation. We have a microphone for you up here, and you just and have Dr. Montel Crawford from the, I want to say executive director. Is that correct title? Okay, executive director of the Kankakee Regional Land Bank. So should be ready to go here. All righty.
All right, thank you, Chairman Wheeler. Good morning, everybody.
Good
morning.
For those of you who are unaware of who I am, again, I'm Montel Crawford. I did my undergrad work at Geneva College in Pennsylvania, my master's degree in religion at Pittsburgh Theological Seminary, and my doctorate is in leadership development out of United Seminary. I've been in full-time ministry for 23 years now. I started off in Pittsburgh, moved to Atlanta for a while, and I've been in Kankakee County for 8 years. 8 years starting back in May. So, how did I end up here? I mean, here, in this room. Well, some time ago, one of the things that happened when we made our relocation from Georgia to Illinois is that we had a hard time finding some place to stay. My family was a family of 5. We had just had a newborn boy. It was hard to find a place that could accommodate us. We had 5,000 square foot home in Georgia, and we couldn't find anything here that could accommodate us. And as I began to drive around the area, I started to notice some of the blight that was happening. And that's where my passion for redevelopment started some 8 years ago. When the opportunity came for the executive director position for the land bank about a year ago, I threw my hat in the ring because I understood that the need for the work was here. And my goal was to simply help establish a foundation because the land bank was starting from ground zero. And so I'm not making a career change. I'm still pastor of Morningstar Baptist Church. But I wanted to help set a foundation to make the job more attractive for someone to now come in and build on top of that foundation. And so when I was hired, we had some initial aims. That would be your slide 1. You'll see that there, we set some pretty lofty aims that we were going after with the hope of beginning to dispose, that is, sell 4 to 8 properties within the first 4 to 12 months and to acquire 217 East Court Street. And I'll get into more detail about that in a little bit. But as we moved forward with our consultants, Denzin and Sultanzada, our legal team, as well as Teska and Associates, so we started to really dig into the work itself and working through our learning curve, we began as a board and as executive director to find out that what was in front of us was a lot more challenging than we realized. We were supposed to take ownership of 217 East Court Street within my first couple of months. That building is still in legal proceedings to this day. We have a hearing now coming up on July 3rd for a judicial sale. The owner has had in their possession a deed in lieu of foreclosure for months now and has refused to sign it and been very uncooperative, to say the least. And so we've had to go through this long legal process of now acquiring the building, which still hasn't come to completion, but we're rounding the corner now. As we started to move forward, we were working with IDA and the SCP-1 funds in coordination with the county. And in this coordination, we started to understand all of what was needed to now receive, or should I say, have properties approved, through the pre-approval process, and then what was needed in order to go forward to get reimbursement. And as we begin to understand all of what that entailed, which is a lot of detail and meticulous work in submitting just for pre-approval for properties through this SCP-1 grant, SCP-2 grant, we started to discover that the turnaround on reimbursement was kind of slow. We submitted in November of 2023 with the help of Ben Wilson for reimbursement on 16 properties that we got approval to acquire through abandonment. I received that check last month for reimbursement. Let's put a pin in that, and I'll come back to it in a little bit. What we also discovered is while I was coming in, our goal was to work with the trustee's office so that we could have properties conveyed directly to the land bank. However, there was a Supreme Court ruling on a Tyler v. Hennepin County case. Hennepin County's retention of the excess value of the home that was sold at that above the tax debt violated the takings clause of the Fifth Amendment. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but what this simply means is that Hennepin County making more money than what was owed was a violation of our Constitution. So the SCOTUS ruling then resulted in some extreme hesitation as to how we are to go forward in working with the trustee. What we banked on was being able to acquire a number of properties through the trustee. We had gone through some extensive work in identifying properties both in the county and within the city that we were hoping that the trustee would convey directly to us so that we could then start our work and generate resources. When this ruling came down, it froze that process. Everyone had to then kind of retool and rethink and begin to get some understanding of what this means for us going forward. So the end result was trustee decided it's best to let all the properties go to auction first to establish a value. And then if properties were still left over, they could convey to land bank, or we could just give them $800 purchase. What happened was every existing structure was purchased. I checked and I double checked. Our associates checked and double checked. Every existing property was taken, which then left us saying, okay, what's next? So now you understand we are a newly formed entity with a fresh executive director, and everything that we anticipated was going to happen did not happen. And so we begin now to retool and rethink what it is that we need to do going forward. Slide 5. What we came to understand now is that Tyler versus Hennepin County ruling does not necessarily impact land bank activities. So counties can continue to work to acquire abandoned properties via tax foreclosure and continue to work with the land bank team to reconnect tax delinquent properties. But if the properties that are acquired via tax foreclosure are worth more than the property taxes owed, the trustee and/or land bank will need to set aside excess value into a fund to potentially return to the owner. That's ultimately what it boils down to. Now, what we have discovered is that the vast majority of abandoned properties that ultimately go to land banks via tax deeds will not be worth more than the taxes owed, and Tyler most likely will not apply. But in the event that it does, an account needs to be set up for those excess funds to go to the owner. For those properties, now slide 6. For those properties that are abandoned, still worth more than the tax debt, KRLBA, that's us, will be able to retain the proceeds from sales up to the amount of the tax debt set aside. The rest, if properties are conveyed to the land bank. Now, the important thing is that this is only one avenue in which a land bank can acquire property. We acquire property through abandonment and through lien, foreclosure, and deed in lieu of foreclosure. These are our primary tools of acquisition, and Tyler has no impact on that. Slide 7. So again, there's a couple ways in which we begin to now look at how we're going to acquire property. Trustee sale is still an option, donation as well. Slide 8. Our first property was acquired through one of our means, deed in lieu of foreclosure. It was 831 South Washington. You see a before and after picture. We were able to acquire that property last year, somewhere around October. This process was new for everyone involved. How do we record the deed? How do we go forward in making sure that the taxes are abated and that everything that the law says is supposed to happen actually happens? All of this learning curve has still been in process. We disposed of this property at the end of December 2023. However, I just received the final amount of monies due to us because the title company held what they thought was owed for taxes. Though the taxes were abated, it didn't show up in the treasurer's system. Somehow we're still kind of working out the kinks. But what you see here now is a property that was blighted that is now being rehabbed and now coming back to productive use. And so we're very, very proud of that. Now, the other ways in which we acquire property is acquisition through abandonment. If you are familiar with abandonment processes, you know these are not quick processes. They can take, if everything goes smoothly, 11 to 12 months. These two properties you see in front of you with their addresses as Baseline Road and State Route 115, what you can't see is to the left of the Baseline Road, there is a home that is well maintained and well kept. My understanding is that the neighbor actually cuts the grass in front of this abandoned home. What you don't see is that the garage has basically no roof and there's a part of the building is collapsing. It's a hazard. The recommendation from our county inspectors is to demolish it. It costs about $20,000 or more to do that. What you can't see in State Route 115, you may be able to see just some of it. There's a home to the right of it. I saw little kids' bikes and big wheels next to it. This is in their backyard. This home that is unoccupied, grass growing, falling apart. This process of acquisition started back in November, December 2023, and we are still moving through the process to acquire it. But understanding that this is about quality of life for people. Nobody should have to look at that when they come home every evening. Children shouldn't have to play around those kind of things. And so this is part of the reason why I do this. I feel like it makes a difference for our residents. But let's make sure that we keep that 20,000 plus in mind as we go forward. Next slide, please. Thank you. We're also applying for abandonment on 6 properties within the city. You see those addresses and pins there. We are in need of inspection reports. What it requires are certified inspection to begin to move forward. 2 years of delinquent taxes, that kind of stuff. And we're looking at other means to speed up the process of getting inspections from the city. Next slide, please. Now, what you see in front of you is a draft budget. It has not been approved. What it includes are ARPA funds donated by the city and county towards the work, with the hope of continuing to acquire 13 properties in 2024, 20 properties in 2025, and 20 properties in 2026, according to our strategic plan that we've been working from. Now, that's all well and good. And why are we asking for money? Well, we have $95,039.81 that is held with the county, and in our first trust account, $59,989.26. Bear in mind, we have our legal fees and personnel and other costs that continue to come up on a regular basis. And the question becomes, how do you maintain your operation while attempting to do demolitions with the amount of money that you have in front of you? And with the turnaround of reimbursement being as slow as it is, becomes to be a difficult task. At least 2 of the properties that we're going after in the city, they'll probably need to be demolished as well. And so when these things are acquired, if we do not have an infusion of cash, it's gonna be hard to make those quality of life improvements, particularly when it comes to demolitions. Our hope is that we can continue to acquire property and dispose of it to be able to add to our pool to draw our resources. But it's imperative going forward that we have an infusion of cash. I sat with the Economic Development Committee for the city on last month and spoke to them and pretty much shared with them the same information that I'm sharing with you. They made a commitment to give. They haven't made a commitment on how much, but they understand that additional resources are needed for us to go forward. Our hope was, and our ask was, 150 from the city, 150 from the county. And the reason why we had that ask really is because I don't want to have to come back and ask you again anytime soon. But the reality is, we understand that you have other priorities. We understand that there are things that need to be done. But we are hoping that you can contribute towards this worthy cause, because at the end of the day, what we're attempting to do is improve the quality of life for citizens within this county. And I appreciate being able to have a small part in all of this and to work with the dedicated professionals in the planning department, who, by the way, have been excellent, have done everything that I've asked of them. They've been extremely professional in how they've handled themselves, and I really appreciate them adopting me and kind of taking me in. Today we have 2 of our board members who are here with us, our board chair, Lisa Sanford, as well as Victor, who is part of our board and also part of the city council for city of Kankakee. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Mr. Hunter first.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Crawford, you're the pastor of the largest African American church in the county. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And additionally, you're on the Planning Commission in the city of Kankakee.
Well, yeah, I sit on that committee for informational purposes.
Oh, okay.
So that we can try to help coordinate some things within the city, so that the city understands the properties that we're we're going after to attempt to open lanes of dialogue and not kind of duplicate services.
And I'm going to ramble here a little bit. You know, I know that Tyler versus Hennepin County has hampered your efforts. You might, I assume that you may want to talk with some other municipalities or local governments to see what they're doing that may be innovative in light of the Tyler Supreme Court ruling.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned also that you require certified inspections.
Correct.
The Kankakee City inspectors are not certified, and I don't know what that means.
Let me rephrase it. Notarized.
Oh. Okay.
Notarized.
Because I know they withdrew the certification from code some years ago.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I used the wrong word.
Yeah, no
it's
problem.
Notarized.
And I was wondering, in terms of working with Kankakee City, might they pursue some kind of accelerated lien foreclosure program that may assist you guys as well too, in terms of them getting control of their property and deeding that to you? Has there been any discussion on that?
How can I put this?
That requires a lot of time and effort in terms of the legal stuff.
There's been, you referring to 217 East Court Street?
Well, I'm talking not
in
just
general.
macro, in terms of you being able to acquire properties is something similar to what Kankakee City did regarding Hilton. You know, they were very aggressive, and they're going to be able to gain title to that property out there. And I'm just wondering, in terms of Kankakee City, because they only have like one in-house attorney, and the other stuff is contracted out, because it does require a lot of time and effort. If there was some kind of aggressive program to foreclose on some of those liens, that would help you.
It would actually. The land bank can move a little faster because we have legal team that is dedicated, that can focus in on those legal proceedings. There's, how can I put this? The city is still trying to figure out how they want to go forward with us.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
And so those kind of discussions have begun. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, let me say this to you. I don't think there's a problem in terms of the commitment that the city and the county can make in conjunction in terms of honoring the mission, the goal of the land bank at all. I know some of the members on land bank. I know you. I have conversations with you about a number of subjects, and this has been one of those. You know, when you take care of slum and blight, it puts a big dent into crime and so forth. And those comments that you made are laudable and accurate. I was just telling you about a situation over by Millie Pregler, right off the playground. There's a dilapidated property, and I was hoping that some freak wouldn't grab one of our kids and take them into that abandoned property. But that is just one story or one incident in the naked city in terms of things that happen in the city. But, you know, I think we'll be able to help you in some regard. I'm not sure in terms of what amount, but I, for one, am going to be supporting you. Thank you very much for your comments.
There is one thing that I wanted to just make you aware of as we're going forward. Discussions have been happening with the trustee. We are attempting to launch a pilot program in which properties sold at auction will have a deed restriction on them. That deed restriction gives those new owners about 12 months to turn that property around, or the land bank can go in and take hold of it. We're trying to put this in play so that we stop the cycle of prospectors coming in, buying up big tracts of property and then deciding not to do nothing with them, and then they have to go back into auction again some years later. Any property that the land bank disposes of will have a deed restriction on it, which means that we're expecting within 12 months that this property will have made significant progress, if not be finished. And if nothing is done with it, we have the opportunity to go back and reclaim that property. We're doing this because we feel it's necessary and needed at this juncture so that we can stop this cycle of properties just continuing to dilapidate and fall apart within the county. I just wanted to make you guys aware of that.
Mr. Alexander Hildebrand. Sorry, you're on.
So, my question, obviously you're coming here to ask for a budget request from ARPA, correct?
Correct.
So we talked about, and just so the board knows this, a lot of you guys already know this, but back in April, we talked about how ARPA is basically done. So from my perspective, we would have to find a different revenue source to accommodate that, because the money that's left over is already going to be allocated to different things. And second thing would be, how many properties have you completed so far since the inception of the land bank?
Thus far, we have one.
One?
That was
Okay.
the
And when
831.
was the inception?
The inception of the land bank itself?
Correct.
Lisa, when did we start? When did land bank start? I've been on board since May of 2023.
2023. Okay.
But I believe we started when land bank started in 2022.
And then one more question. You mentioned that the city of Kankakee has had, I guess, questions in regards to this. Where's their stance as today?
They are in support. They want to give. They haven't determined how much.
Okay.
Ms. Andrade.
The numbers of 2024 and the 2025 one, these are how you guys want to turn over houses. So you want to do 13. So in a year, we only did one house. What are you guys going to do different to make those goals?
So what we have in play is the acquisition via abandonment. Those properties should begin to start to roll in. But quite frankly, we may have to make some adjustments to that goal because the process has gone a lot slower than we anticipated. In the meantime, we start the groundwork for creating our pipeline. And that's basically a bunch of meticulous work of driving around, also getting a list of water cutoffs and grass cutting and going back over previous lists and things of that nature. And so it's very tedious and meticulous. But it's basically, we have to go back now again and just kind of retool and see how it is that we can go forward. This, again, this ruling kind of threw a monkey wrench in things, slowed us down, but it's not going to stop us. We just have to retool. One of the things that we will be able to do is attempt to make purchases from the trustee when that time arrives. Now, we won't be able to do very many. We don't have a lot of funds for that. But in acquiring a few there, we'll head towards that goal. But 13 is going to be hard. It is. There's no question about it.
And then my second question is, what was our original agreement with the land bank and our part in that we play?
It takes the county with the trustee and a home rule community that provides home rule powers to the land bank. So it's basically, we're taking our powers as trustee, overall taxing bodies, if you will, that are granted to us, and then the city's home rule, and then that creates the land bank. We don't manage the land bank, set policy or anything like that. We appoint board members. And the stated goal at the beginning was to get properties back on the tax rolls, is why we got into this business, because you don't want to sit there with a boarded up house. You'd rather have somebody living in it, changing neighborhoods, driving property tax values and revenues for the city and the county, and then others that may join down the road. That was the whole goal.
And so we were gonna provide a space for the office, correct?
Yeah,
And-
our end was the space, the laptop, the employee expense, the insurance, and then the city's part was the compensation.
Okay.
That's codified in the agreement.
So is that what's is that what they're asking for from the ARPA fund money that you guys are asking for to cover that, or what is this supposed to go towards?
It goes towards all of the expenses, so acquiring property, also towards personnel.
If you have a follow-up, or let me go to Mr. Eckhoff and then we'll come back if you have one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have probably 3 or 4 questions, so cut me off if I ask too many. It really sounds like you have a cash flow issue.
Yes.
So I understand that the state, it takes so long to get your money back from the state.
Yes.
But on your 6 properties that you have in the city of Kankakee, how many of those need to be demolished and how many of those that don't need to be demolished? Because I think that you're looking at properties like the 2 that you talked about in unincorporated Kankakee County. You need $20,000 plus to demolish them, $20,000 for the other one. And I understand I'm in the housing industry as well. It's tough to find those properties to sell quickly. But I would just like to know, why are we looking at demolishing properties like the chairman just stated? It should be to get somebody in the house, and then they would pay sales tax. They're coming to the area. So I like that for the first question.
Well, 2 reasons. One is quality of life for residents.
Okay.
Those properties that we decided to go after are in bad shape and they're close to other residents. So they're not isolated off somewhere alone. It becomes a quality of life issue for the residents who live directly next to these particular properties. And so for those within the city, I would say possibly 2 that need to be demolished.
Okay.
The remainder can be turned around and disposed of.
And then the second question, with the house that you sold at 831 South Washington, how much did you end up buying that property for?
Well, that was a deed in lieu of foreclosure.
Okay.
And so there was no purchase price.
Okay, so it was
The
$0.
owner, yeah, the owner signed it over.
Okay.
And so there was no purchase price.
Okay, and then what did you sell that property for?
That property sold for 25.
Okay, 25,000. So that's already back into your coffers and the land bank.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll I'm good for right now.
Yeah, and that number 25 is kind of what we expect for the majority of the properties that we acquire.
Okay.
Somewhere around that number that they'll go for, 25.
Second time, Mr. Hunter?
Let
Is
me-
there somebody else? Can I let somebody else go first, Mr. Hunter?
Yeah, no problem.
Mr. Snipes.
Thank you. First of all, Ms. Garber, thank you for accepting the challenge in the county. The overall, I guess, vision for this is as been stated in the past, is to kind of rehab these dilapidated homes and put them back on the tax roll. So when one acquires a property, you have the property tax as well as whatever sale tax comes from it when it's sold. But then there's another caveat here where it says that when you're rehabbing them, because when I'm looking at 25,000, that's a very conservative number from the house that you basically showed in the area that you showed it in. So therefore, it's not like this is a big profit thing, but to get it back on the tax roll and to also it likes premise upon affordable housing when these properties are rehabbed. But one of the questions that I had was, and I guess it rose in the Tyler versus Independence, is that it states that if you purchase or get the property via sale or however, that if is it the market value, if there's a market value of $80,000 on the home, if you pay 20, 60 has to be reserved, and that's 60 have to be retired? I'm trying to get clarity on that.
No, no, that's not exactly how it works. This applies to properties in which they go to tax lien foreclosure.
Tax there.
So you'll have a certain amount of tax lien on that particular property. Let's say it's $6,000. When it goes to auction through the trustee, if it sells for $800, which is the minimum bid, then Tyler doesn't apply. But if it sells for, let's say, $7,000, well, now that excess over the amount of tax due has to be then funneled back to the original owner based upon the ruling.
So it's a tax purchase price and not any market value.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So if we are to have property conveyed to us by the trustee and it sells beyond what the tax lien foreclosure is, we have to set aside funds to then funnel back to the owner. If we purchase from the trustee, well, then that doesn't apply unless we're purchasing it for a price over what the tax lien is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense now. Okay, and then the home rule is only limited to our ability is only limited to. I mean, though we are the county, the home rule portion of this would only be limited to the city because that's the jurisdiction of the city. Does it nothing outside of that gives the county any home rule authority? And I guess that would be more of a question to the chair when it comes to dealing with the land bank.
Just for this partnership. That's
Just for
it.
okay.
And it would go to, say, Bourbonnais joins. They would have home rule authority where it pertains to what the land bank does.
And then
quick take, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we basically would enter into a temporary intergovernmental agreement as to what it is that they are willing to allow us to do in their area.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Mr. Eckhoff, Mr. Hunter, second time, then you.
No problem.
Yes.
You know, I was listening to the auditor-elect and his comments about putting these properties back on the tax roll, and that's probably, you know, our main emphasis. So, you know, what I've seen, and I'm sure everybody would probably agree that with the influx of individuals outside of this area and bolstering our populations, that I've seen individuals, families, take a dilapidated property that was probably targeted for demolition and enhance that. I mean, I've seen them come every weekend working, family members, and restoring those properties. And that kind of speaks to what Colton was talking about. Our priority is to rehab and place these properties back on the tax roll. And there could be, you could incorporate some other stuff with KCC in terms of, and the building trades and all that stuff involved in that. Anyway, also, my other life being an alderman, I know we had done some things with the National Guard in terms of defraying any kind of costs associated with demolition. They helped demolish some of the properties. And I think the only thing that we had to encumber was the tipping fees to the landfill. Also, I noticed that your funding source is rather short or limited in terms of Kankakee City and the county. And I know you're getting some stuff probably from IDA as well too. You may want to go after some other sources in order to help you with your cash needs. The other grants and stuff that maybe Ben can help you, like he has helped you already. But that needs to be pursued as well too. So hopefully those.
Ben is laughing.
But Ben's got an agent. I mean, every meeting, Steve's farming him out.
That's Wonder Boy back there. You know? But anyway, that's something to pursue though, because you know, like I was saying, your resources are limited in terms of, keeping you guys above. I know Matt is on your board. Oh, Shefsky's on your board, right?
Yes.
And I know Victor. I can't remember who else is on there, but I was wondering also if some of these banks are going to act on foreclosure of some of these properties. I'm just wondering if they could deed those properties to you some kind of way. But anyway, I'm just thinking outside the box.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
So we are attempting to find other funding sources. You guys are one. I've had discussion with Senator Joyce, and those discussions, his office went well. So we're looking at we can possibly receive some operational funds down the line. And there are other opportunities that can come up through the state. One of the, it's kind of multifaceted because we have yet to have an audit ourselves. All of our resources are pretty much maintained by the county, and so the county does our books. We've yet to go through an audit, which a lot of grantors want you to have. Having myself in place for now, almost 13 months, that's something that's coming down the line. And I want to be clear that we're not demolition happy. I want you guys to understand that. One of the things that we want to be aware of, particularly when it comes to the IDA funds, the SEP2, we've worked out with the county to have access to about around 150,000 of those IDA funds, SEP2 funds. And one of the things that you want to make sure that you do when you receive these grants, as you know, is to spend the money. Demolitions are a good way to spend that money from those grants. And so that is also factored into our thinking, because we want to make sure if you're awarded a grant that you're using up as much as you can in that. And so that's part of it. And then the other part, as I said earlier, is the quality of life. Are these properties in such bad shape, and are they next to active properties? Are people living there, families living there? Is it going to help improve their quality of life? Can we then work out a $1,000 purchase to the neighbor for that lot? So now they're paying taxes on that lot as part of now their homestead, so to speak. So that all comes into the thinking of it. And so I just want to make sure that you guys understand, like we're not looking to just go out and knock down everything that we think needs to be knocked down. No, it's strategic in our thinking, because we understand that we still want to draw down from those IDA funds that are awarded to us, because if we're not using it, it looks bad for us if we go back and apply for SEP3 that we think is coming up. So we want to make sure that we are using those funds that are awarded.
Mr. Echo, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So going back to other funding sources, have you reached out to other communities like Bradley, Bourbonnais?
County Mayors Association.
I've had a preliminary discussion with Bradley.
Okay.
How can I put this? Trying to be politically correct. Those conversations are complicated.
They're ongoing, is what you'd probably say, right?
No, they're complicated.
No? Okay.
And I really do mean that. We in the beginning of me coming on board in those first few months, we talked about membership. And one of the things that our advisors told us is that when you are fresh, it might not be a good idea to add additional municipalities to the land bank, because it can become extremely complicated. And in one conversation, I saw that come to fruition. And so that really has not been high on our agenda in these early stages. I think it would be more prudent for us, instead of adding additional members, to make sure that our foundation is solid, and that our operations are solid, and that we have a good pipeline of properties in play, that we can establish a good track record, and then possibly down the line re-enter into those discussions. But again, our advisors strongly suggest we keep it tight right now.
Okay. And then the two numbers on that screen, First Trust Bank and County. So First Trust, is that your current bank account or
Yes.
bank balance? And then the county, what's the 95,000? What we still are
That
in
is
agreement
what's,
for?
yeah, that's what's left from the initial funds that were donated, I believe, by the city, that were given by the city.
Okay. Okay. And I know there's been a lot of discussion regarding the ruling of Tyler versus Hennepin, and I don't know, is the treasurer here?
There he is.
Could you, because I'm kind of conflicted on that, because there is a possibility that we may have to have a separate bank account for it if the ruling goes a different way. I would like the treasurer's opinion, or if he has any new information regarding that, because I think we talked about it a month ago.
Well, I certainly don't have a legal opinion. Yeah, Dr. Crawford, I think basically said what the deal is. You sell the property, and the income you raised is more than what was owed, you owe it back. You owe back the balance. I think just in general, the trustee is the natural place to go to for properties, but here's the challenge, and I think they're facing this right now. You scrape the property clean, and you do create, I guess, a quality of life benefit, especially if someone mows the grass. But it's my opinion, frankly, that the city should be demolishing properties that need to be demolished. And maybe where we need to be, and maybe we need to talk more. So the tax buyers that come in and buy the liens, they don't want the property. They want the 18% interest or the 12% interest. And so around 3 years in, because they can get deed at 3.5 years, 2.5 to 3 years in, they start getting skittish and looking for ways to file a sale in error, right? Oh, there's a mowing lien from the city, so we want out because they've gotten their interest. Those might be the place where we take the position, take over their position in line, right? Where the people haven't paid in 2.5 years, and we come in and say, well, what are you into this property for? Okay, we'll take it from you, you're whole, you're happy, and we have a property. Problem I have with scraping anything is that I could give you 100 properties right now that are scraped, and you couldn't give them away for people to build on, right? No one wants them. And you take, so even a property that's abandoned, we get paid for that property. The tax buyer bought the lien, we're still getting tax revenue, right? Until they don't have that anymore. So they want to give it back to us. So, and then when it's scraped, now the tax revenue goes down to what, $40, $100, $200 maybe. So I don't know, maybe, and Montel or Dr. Crawford and Lisa and I can sit together. It might be better for us to, the trustee has got the bottom of the barrel pieces of property. The trustee has the bottom of the barrel pieces of property. Those are, trustee gets, so everybody knows in this room, they get what no one else wants. That's where their properties come from. All the bidders said, no, we don't want it. And the trustee says, okay, we'll take it, right? And they get the highest interest rate. That's why they gamble on it. But maybe we need to be talking to the tax buyers as well at that 2.5 year stage where they're saying, holy Moses, I don't want this property. What would I do with this property? And we're saying, no, we do want it because we want to rehab it. So we'll come in and take over, and after 3 months or 6 months to a year, we now have deed, and then we can rehab the house, because the rehabbed house, obviously, I think you believe this just like I do, is where everything's at.
Absolutely.
That's where the value's at. The value in property is, and I did ran a report while Dr. Crawford was talking, and he's correct. Most every house sells because someone wants to redo it, right? and then property is $850 minimum bid, somewhere in there, $825. I have 100 you could have today, right? And you say, hey, we'll give all these to you if you build on them. No one's building, right? So that's just my perspective, and maybe that's where we need to maybe step in, because it's a tough go, and I know how hard they worked on the property that they flipped, and we knew the people who owned it.
Yeah.
And so we had an inside track, and it still takes a lot of time. So maybe we can have a conversation.
Yeah, and that's why we wanted to do the deed restriction for those sales, to kind of have a built-in mechanism to stop that process and start that, you know, transfer now of people who are really just looking to,
and we,
as you say, make money.
And I think we'll probably have a deed restriction at some point too that addresses, and it may be this tax year, that addresses Tyler versus Hennepin, which says to the people, when you buy this, you hold us totally harmless. The county, the trustee, or the trustee's our agent. So you hold everybody harmless. So we're not paying $20,000 back. But the chance of that happening is very slim here.
Thank you.
Guys, I do need to move on if there's nothing else here, because this was supposed to be a 15-minute presentation. It's now, we're, what, 45 minutes in? Is there anything you can handle off the mic?
Just one quick question.
Yes, sir. Second time. And it's not your fault, it's mine for not managing this better.
Okay, just a thing, I understood that you stated that you got $25,000 off the house that you rehab, but is that the actual?
Oh, no, we didn't rehab it.
Y'all didn't rehab, you just?
We did not.
You just sold it?
We just sold it as is.
Okay, so you had no expense as far as that was concerned?
Correct. Well, I mean, you know, I had to, it was minimal.
Okay.
Our expense was minimal.
All right.
But it was sold as is.
Okay, so therefore, most of that came up to your budget. All right, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Office in the planning, all that other stuff. Oh, Lisa, did you have something? I'm
I
sorry.
just wanted to make a comment of, yes, we did start a long time ago, 2022, I think it was, but there was so much effort in creating policy for it that, and like Dr. Crawford said, we've just learned so much. Other members of the board are, besides Matuszewski and Victor Navarez, who had to leave a little bit earlier, Barbie Brewer-Watson, Joe Nugent. There's 6 of us total. 3 were appointed from the county, 3 were appointed from the city. We work so well together. We meet every Tuesday, every 3rd Tuesday of the month. And how we got that property on South Washington was word of mouth. Somebody from my office heard that I was doing this land bank. What's that all about? Oh, it's we can take property in deed of lieu and foreclosure, abandonment. We can get, oh, I think I know somebody. That's how we got it. So the more that we get this good word out, that the land bank is here for good quality of life, the better it's going to be. The ball will get rolling. The pipeline will move smoother. The title companies will understand it. It's just all going to be so much better. It's a good thing. South Suburban has been like a mentor for us. What Cook County has done, what Rockford has done. We look at all these people, and our attorney, Brent, works with all of them. That's why it's so good, because we have all these great volunteers that are on the committee, and then we're really pleased with Dr. Crawford. So I just want to say thank you to that.
All right, so thank you for that. So moving on, we've got, let's see here. Thank you for your time. Appreciate the update. The minutes of the last meeting, May 14th, 2024, Mr. Hunter, second. Mr. Dunhill, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Claims Committee, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the County Board, Claims Committee report for April 2024. Total claims of $11,611,489.81.
Alrighty, is there a motion there? Mr. Eckhoff and Mr. Marion with a second. Roll call vote, please.
That's Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mr. Carrico.
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Swanson's gone. Mr. Featherling.
Aye.
Mr. Donnell. Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra.
Aye.
Mr. Hunter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Alexander.
Aye.
Ms. Foster's gone. Ms. Andrade.
Aye.
Mr. Ashcraft.
Aye.
Ms. Monday's gone. Ms. Turner.
Aye.
Mr. Marion.
Aye.
Mr. Lowry.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. All right, motion carries. You good?
I'm good.
Let's see here. Department reports, if we can get those read in the record, please.
County Collector's Report for month ending April 2024. Total cash in bank and investments of $1,048,954.28. County Treasurer's Report for April 2024. At the tax operating account at First American Bank, the ending balance of $391,091.32. The current tax account at Midland States Bank, ending balance of $212,254.95. The tax e-pay account at First American Bank, ending balance $88,689.97. The money market account at First American Bank, the ending balance of $356,918.04. Coroner's monthly report for April 2024. Total calls 84, coroners cases 10, autopsies 6, toxicology 7, indigents 1, fetal 1, hospice 36, referrals 36, cremations 57, x-rays 1, and pending 3. Coroner's income summary report for April 2024, total of $8,732.83. Circuit clerk cash book for month ending April 2024, total disbursed of $366,926.63. Recorder's monthly report for April 2024, disbursement fees paid to the county treasurer are $170,090.60. County clerk's monthly report for April 2024, total of $29,575.78. Animal control monthly report for April 2024, total of $37,090.10. Total animals handled 92. Monthly building division report for April 2024, total permits of 84, total fees of $27,763.
Alrighty, we have the motion to combine and approve.
No.
Is there a motion, Mr. Dunnell, second, Mr. Kirkstra? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to consent, is there anything that needs to come off and be considered separately? The second time, anything to be considered separately? If not, a motion to combine and approve would be in order. Mr. Miller, second. Ms. Turner, if we can get them read in the record, sir.
The reappointment of Lori Gadboy to the Kankakee County Convention and Visitors Bureau, declaring equipment as surplus, Sheriff's Department, DCEO line item appropriations, intergovernmental cooperation agreement between the County of Kankakee, Illinois, and Village of Union Hill. Authority for the County Board Chairman to sign an agreement between Kankakee County Historic Preservation Commission and WJE Associates Incorporated as consultant for the Kankakee County Intensive Level Historic and Architectural Survey of Janier Township under the 2024 CLG grant. Resolution authorizing the County Board Chairman to sign local agency agreement for federal participation and appropriating matching tax funds for reconstruction of County Highway 9 between US 4552 and Spruce Street in Manteno.
Alrighty, then a roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mr. Carrico.
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Featherling.
Aye.
Mr. Donnell. Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra.
Aye.
Mr. Hunter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Alexander.
Aye.
Ms. Foster. Not here, I'm sorry. Ms. Andrade.
Aye.
Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Turner.
Aye.
Mr. Marion.
Aye.
Mr. Lowry.
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. Under ZBA, we have title.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois regarding ZBA case 2402, special use permit 23B resorts in the A1 Agriculture District in Section 10 of Aroma Township.
All right, is there a motion to approve to start off with on this one? Mr. Featherling, second. Mr. Kirkstra. All right, Dale, a little brief.
All right. Sure. Ivan Rotlikoff is the owner of the 20.5 acre parcel that's located on the screen there. It's located at 7569 South Bridge Street in St. Anne, right at the Sugar Island Bridge. That's Sugar Island Bridge to the left. Commonly known as the Sugar Shack. You probably heard that term before. Mr. Rotlakoff is requesting a special use permit 23.b to operate a resort at that location. And the resort would be renting the building. It's a 12, I think it's a 12-bedroom structure. He would be renting that as a B&B, short-term rental, and utilizing the remainder of the 20 acres for outdoor activities such as swimming, boating, volleyball, and event venues such as weddings and those type of activities. The Zoning Board of Appeals heard the case and voted 4-1 to approve with conditions, and Planning and Zoning concurred with that. If you go to the next slide, I can go over the conditions that were placed on it. Property shall not be used for outdoor concerts, shall not be used for events or gatherings of more than 75 people, shall not be used for hunting, target practice, or other recreational use of firearms. No use of all-terrain vehicles, off-highway motorcycles, dirt bikes, or similar vehicles. And then there's the noise one for no outdoor emission of music or other sounds beyond the boundaries of the property that unreasonably interferes with the enjoyment of life or with any lawful business or activity between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. That actually mirrors the county's noise ordinance.
Any questions? Ms. Weber.
Yeah, these are kind of hard restrictions or kind of strict restrictions, but usable. So if your staff hasn't the time, I would think, to keep going by these properties to check on it. So is the recourse that the neighbors again would contact you if they feel there's been no abiding by these?
We are complaint based, so if a complaint were to come into the office, we would act on it.
You'd send out a person to look at it. Thank you.
Mr. Snipes?
Well, I can almost concur with 1, 3, 4, and 5. What threw me is when it says 75 persons, the property should not be used for events or gatherings, and you mentioned a wedding. That is, so they're just gonna be probably allowed to just have small weddings, because I know at a wedding, even in a church setting, is more than 150 people. So I'm just looking, is that reasonable? Or can the county increase that number to like at least 150? I mean, because a wedding would, that's saying 37.4 people from the groom's side and 7. You'd have knocked that out with the bride and the groomsmen and the thing. So it's just
that is
like
possible.
Yeah.
This is.
Yeah.
To clear the place out. Yeah.
My 4th of July party will be larger than that, but these were recommended by the owner themselves.
Oh, okay.
Okay. They agreed to them. They presented them to us.
Oh, okay.
So that is within their scope of how they want to operate their resort.
So it wasn't us, it's them.
So it's them. We agreed to it.
Okay.
Zoning board did. So if the county board agrees to it, then a yes vote would be appropriate. So.
Anybody else? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Let's see here. I think we had finance.
Amending ARPA resolution for KCCSI.
Is there a motion to approve on this, Mr. Hunter? Second, Mr. Dunhill. It's just they've already got the money. It's a shift of the use. So the resolution needs to match. Steve's good with everything. All right. Mr. Snipes.
Just for the purposes, I'm just saying that I would be abstaining from the vote, being the president of KCCSI. But on the same token, I do want to state after reading this that the funds are definitely well needed in this county. Catholic Church has ran out for the homeless, the Salvation Army, KCCSI, even the monies that was expended by the thing. So and with KCCSI is used for individuals that live in the county. And so it appears that we have a great need dealing with homeless and with individuals that have challenges sometime in paying their rent. So there's a great need in the county for that. I thank you all as well as the state and federal government for kind of kicking in, but it looks like no matter what number we put on that need, there's still a need. So thanks.
Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Abstaining, man.
Mrs. Weber. Mr. Carrico. Mr. Eckhoff. Mr. Featherling. Mr. Donnell. Mr. Miller. Mr. Kirkstra.
Aye.
Mr. Hunter. Mr. Smith. Mr. Alexander. Ms. Foster. I'm sorry. Ms. Andrade just left. Mr. Ashcraft. Ms. Turner. Mr. Marion. Mr. Lowy. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. We just have a few openings, I believe.
One opening on the McGillivray Special Drainage District, one opening on the BM Lewis Drainage District, one opening on the Moments Pembroke Union Drainage District number 1, one opening on the Union Drainage District number 2, one opening on the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee for a shelter community representative, one opening on the Historic Preservation Commission for a historian, one opening on the ICANN Joint Education Committee for a board member, one opening on the Pilot Township Fire Protection District, one opening on the Cabry Area Fire Protection District, 2 openings on the Kankakee County Public Building Commission, 9 openings on the Kankakee County Waterways Advisory Subcommittee, 1 member selected by vote of the Kankakee, Aroma Park, and Moments Boat Clubs, 1 member from the Kankakee County Farm Bureau, 1 member from a Soil and Water District in Kankakee County, 1 member from NIAA, 1 member representing all Kankakee County drainage districts, 1 member representing rural fire rescue, and 3 at-large members.
Have not heard from boat clubs. If anybody knows anybody at boat clubs, we've sent letters, so we haven't heard from those folks. So just put the bug in their ear. They need to get together and decide what they want to do as a team, if you will, and how they want to rotate. Totally left the ball up to them in their court. And most of the other spots we've got applicants for. I think there's 1 at large, or as many that apply, but there's still 1 there, and then I think all the other ones have named somebody, so we should be good that way. So, Mr. Hess is gone, so I guess we have to stay here until next week. Mr. Kirkstra, motion, and Mr. Featherling to go bye-bye. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.